How's everybody doing? We're good? All right, hello, hello. I'm Alaysia Sierra. I work for Apple Music. I'm a programmer, which means essentially that I curate playlists for Apple Music, R&B playlists specifically. But we're here at the Fender Next House on our Future Sounds panel talking to some really dope kids. Sorry, people, not kids. And I got some questions for them, but I'm gonna let them talk about themselves. So I want to talk first about everybody's musical journey, but if you can introduce yourself before, tell people your name, where you're from, and then talk about your musical journey. Whoever wants to start first.
Hello, my name is Sophie Meiers. I'm from Durango, Colorado, which is a pretty small little town in the southwest area. And I have been making music as long as I can remember. It really started with poetry, and it just evolved to me like writing down tons of songs in my little notebook until I was able to like beg my parents for instruments, and then it kind of just progressed from there. I was in a couple bands in middle school and high school, and I started uploading songs on SoundCloud in like 2015, and here we are now.
Hello, is my mic on? My name is Melanie Faye, and I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. I just moved to LA 2 months ago. I drove across the country from Nashville by myself. Yeah, I did that. And I started playing guitar because of Guitar Hero. I got it in the 5th grade, and it was specifically the song Cliffs of Dover that got me. Yeah, and then I studied jazz guitar in high school. I went to Nashville School of the Arts, and after high school, I went to college for like a year and a half and studied music business. And then I just kind of dropped out of sophomore year of college, and then I became a musician. Well, I was already a musician, but I started pursuing it, I guess, on a professional level. So, yeah.
What's up? I'm Josh Cautious Clay, and I've been making music for since I was about 7 years old. I started playing the flute and taking lessons at 7, and then high school I learned the saxophone, and and then I started playing guitar more recently, and kind of like figuring it out on my own, and my journey has just kind of been around being an instrumentalist and learning how to produce in college, and then finally doing some more singing and writing in the past 2 years. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey so far, but yeah.
Yeah. So cautious, you talked about. Sorry, you talked about all the instrument. Well, not all the. You play a lot of instruments. I don't know if y'all know. But what musicians influenced you to maybe pick up the guitar, pick up the. You play the flute too,
Yeah.
and the sax,
Yeah,
and
totally.
Melanie, the same for you too with the guitar. What
Yeah.
musician influenced you? I know Jimi Hendrix is a big one for you, but
Okay, yeah, well, I mean, everybody on Guitar Hero was an influence, for sure. But like when I'm playing guitar, I'm like mimicking vocal runs because I grew up on like R&B and hip hop music. So when I'm playing guitar, I'm mimicking the vocal runs of like R&B singers. I'm definitely like a Mariah Carey stan. Like I'm like her lamb. Like I love Mariah Carey. So that's like a big influence for me. That's probably my biggest influence, especially songwriting. She's like, I think her songwriting is genius, especially on the Butterfly album on the song The Roof. Yeah, it was like, I like the juxtaposition, how it was like a hip hop song, but like the diction of the song was almost like, it was like a poem. It was like a Shakespeare poem, you know, like the words that she was using and the storytelling in it. So I aspire to be that level of songwriter. Yeah.
cautious.
Yeah, I would say, well, I actually got into flute not even for a musical reason. It was because I really liked Aladdin. And I was like into video, like, and I thought, I was like, oh, sick. Like, let me figure out what this is all about. And then, but yeah, like, I think I was always just very inclined towards music and yeah, I know, had peaks and valleys of that in my life. And then, yeah, I really just picked up guitar because I just, my friends were always playing it, and it was the one instrument that I didn't really know super well, but like, because I did a little piano too, but guitar was like the one I was like, okay, this is a little more difficult, so let me like take some time with it.
Sophie, do you have any musical influences?
I feel like my musical influence is kind of all over the place. I like to draw from a lot of different genres across a lot of different time periods, and I try to really listen to music. Even if I don't necessarily like it, I like to understand why I don't like it. And but a lot of jazz growing up, jazz was what really sparked, you know, wanting to sing, and like Julie London, Peggy Lee, Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday, all those wonderful greats have had like a huge impact on me and my vocal style so far.
Amazing. So now I want to talk a little bit about collaboration. I don't know if anybody here knows, but all of these wonderful musicians have a song coming out called Cheesin' with some other artists. So if you want to talk about the other artists that aren't here that are on the
Yeah.
song, and how that collaboration came to be.
Yeah, so I actually had this song idea for a little bit, and I worked on with this producer named Hans, HXNS, and he's a friend of mine, and he sent me this idea, and I was like, this is so cool, and like I immediately came up with this hook idea for it, and it was cheesin', and if you hear it, it would make sense, but it was a really cool idea, and yeah, and then I had been talking with a couple of my friends, one of which actually couldn't make it tonight or today, Omar Apollo, and we actually wrote a verse together on FaceTime for the song, and yeah, he's the first person to get on that, and then I sent it to this other artist named Still Woozy, who's really great, and he was really into it, and he wrote something to that, and then I actually sent it to Melanie. Melanie was in town in New York. I live in New York, Brooklyn, New York, and she laid down some really cool vocals and some guitar parts on it, and it just like kept evolving in a really cool way. And then Sophie as well. So it's like it's been interesting because like it was all these people just kind of came together just for like this idea that I had, and it became what it was just based on, obviously the music being good, right? Like that's what you want, is if it's good enough, like people will latch onto it. So it's been interesting. It's been an interesting process getting that song done. Yeah. But yeah.
How many people are actually on the song? You just said 5. But
Six.
6. Who's the 6th person?
This artist Umi.
Umi, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So with 6 people on the song, a lot of you all play different instruments, can contribute different things, writing, vocally, you all sing also. How do you pick who does what in the song?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Like I said, so I have this hook. So I don't even have a verse, but like I kind of consider myself very particular about arrangements. I think that's like because I'm very much a producer. I was a producer before I was a vocalist, and so I have a very keen ear about arranging and figuring out where people go. And initially, like for example, like Omar had 2 parts, and then I just like moved one of his parts and organized it in a way that felt right. So it's almost like a handing off of a verse. And so yeah, it's been an interesting process making it work, but a lot of it is just like figuring out how a song can flow in a way that doesn't feel like it's being forced. Because I think a lot of times when people make collaborations, they're just like, oh, like let's get all these people together and then like oh, it's gonna be a big thing, but like if it doesn't sound good, like or if it doesn't make any sense, it's just not gonna translate.
Yeah. And so, I mean, with 6 people who are all in different spaces, right? Like Melanie, I'm sure at this point you're in Nashville. And Cautious, I don't know, were you on tour or were you in New York? What were you doing?
I was just always working. So like,
Okay.
Just moved to LA.
Oh, you had just moved to LA. Okay. And where were you, Sophie, when this happened, when this song came to you?
Oh, you're saying at the time?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was probably in New York.
I was probably in LA still, but not moved officially.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was in LA too.
We
So
worked on it.
did you all work on it together? Were you all together when you made
Yeah,
the song?
so we were all together.
Okay.
When we did it. Yeah, we
Oh,
worked together.
what?
Yeah.
So I was in.
It's been a long day.
Oh yeah.
Were Omar and Umi and Sawuzi also present, or?
They were not actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how did you, well, I mean, I can't ask them since they're not
I
here.
actually never
but-
met Umi, but like we just never met.
We got to make that happen.
Wow, I didn't
I
know
got to
that.
play a show with her recently in San Francisco. She's super sweet.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
nice.
really, really
Yeah.
sweet. We got to
Awesome.
make that happen.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know. It's cool.
So what can we expect from the upcoming collaboration?
Greatness.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Like the song is actually pretty much done, and I've been mixing it right now. But I'm really actually trying to figure out an interesting video concept for it right now. And
Everybody
I
has to
haven't
be in
really
it,
told you guys.
obviously.
Yeah, everyone has to be in it. But like, I have this really funny idea about like like Full House or like
Yes.
Family Matters. Like those intros are just amazing. Like they're just so funny, and like the song has a very like light, playful feeling to it, but it also has like I think it's a cool song. Like, but I think the way it's arranged musically, it makes perfect sense to do a video where it's like you're introing each person, and it's like about maybe 2 minutes and 40 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So like you could almost like intro every person like it's a family.
Mm-hmm.
And
Like
it's
the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that, but like done in a very interesting way. So I'm actually writing a couple of treatments right now with a friend of mine who's a cool director named Hayan of America.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't really even told
All right.
everybody about it, but I'm working on it.
Okay, song and video coming soon. Cheese it. I'm gonna take it back a little bit, away from the song. I was wondering if you had any advice for people who are coming up in the music industry who want to be musicians. We're gonna start with Sophie.
I think that it's really important to kind of try not to compare yourself to other people, because I have found that everybody's journey is completely different, and some of the greatest, most masterful people of their craft have started like really late in their lives. Not most, but a lot of people really just start whenever, and they still get to a certain point. And also, I mean, sometimes it takes centuries for masterpieces to be appreciated, and I think that it's important to remember that creation should be about taking this intangible feeling and thought and making it into an actual thing that you can consume. It's really beautiful, and I feel like the more you keep it about just the passion, I mean, you're going to get good music out of it. And consistency is also key. I feel like people just need to keep doing it, and eventually, you attract to you people who are drawn to whatever you're making. So I think, yeah.
Melanie.
Yeah, I still feel like I'm coming up and I don't feel like I've made it. So I guess like I'm still trying to figure that question out myself.
But what has worked for you so far?
Oh, I guess like, putting yourself out there, performing and posting videos, and trying to be consistent and, networking, and I guess like doing stuff like this, yeah.
Okay. Cautious.
Yeah, I would say a lot of what everyone has said here. I also think authenticity is also very important, because if you're doing something and when you have a goal but you're not sure like what that goal is, then I think you just have to at least try to be yourself and enjoy the process. Because if you're not enjoying it, then you just might be spinning your wheels for however long that is.
Yeah, it could be a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Okay, Melanie, I have a question for you. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Nashville has a very distinct sound and culture, and I know you just moved to LA. Welcome, by the way.
Thank you.
But how did growing up in Nashville affect your music? Or do you think it did affect your music, and how?
Well, I guess like since I went to that art school, I think going to the art school affected my music, because like not only did we take the classes and learn, the I guess the curriculum or learn like whatever it was that we learned in class, but it was really being around talented musicians every single day and being in a room with them every single day. Because when I first got there, I couldn't really play jazz. I couldn't play everybody was way better than me. I couldn't really like people were playing like Cliffs of Dover and like playing like, West Montgomery and stuff. And I couldn't play that. But I think like going there set a standard for me and then motivated me to be better. So I think that was the most influential era of my like music journey. Yeah. Or my most formative.
Yeah. Are you still friends with anybody from the school?
No.
No? Oh, okay. I had to ask. Maybe y'all were like jamming. No? Okay. Maybe not. Sophie, you're very active with video content on YouTube. Can you elaborate on what role YouTube and interacting with your fans has played into where you are?
I mean, visuals and art and other forms of creating have always been like really kind of tied together with my musical experience. And so I feel like so much music really invokes like vivid imagery for me, and being able to kind of like be there and be someone who's not just kind of this person on the internet, but like, be able to express myself in front of that sort of audience is really special. And I mean, I think even before that too, kind of just little communities on SoundCloud really shaped me a lot. And I mean, there's so many different subgenres and niches on the internet that I think it's really beautiful to be able to just kind of press a button and, share with billions of people. It's insane, honestly. But
How has video helped you, Melanie? Because I know you also post videos of yourself playing the guitar. And
Yeah, I think that's kind of how to get your foot in the door. I mean, posting videos on Instagram is really how anything happened for me, So I think like posting videos like is why I have a career, for sure.
has anyone shared or retweeted it? Like, that's somebody that you look up to and you're like, oh my God, they just retweeted my video?
Let's see. I think John Mayer co-signed me a few times. That was pretty cool. And then Shawn Mendes, I think, or maybe I think he co-signed me too. I don't know if they retweeted, but that counts, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then
yeah, of course.
let's see. I don't know. Man, I lost count. Maybe like it's kind of like an extensive list of people, but Kaylani, yeah, she's been a supporter of mine, and SZA, yeah, and I guess I'll stop there. I don't want to name
that's a pretty deep list.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you're waiting for Mariah Carey.
We're getting there. We're working on it. Yeah.
Okay. Cautious, what about you?
Like,
I think You know,
Oh.
John Mayer is a big
Oh
one
yeah,
for you.
no
You've
doubt.
been working
No,
with
yeah,
too, but-
we worked together actually quite a bit. We actually met on Instagram as well. He started following me, and I was just like, "Hey man, like, what's up?" And I was just like, you know, if you ever want to work, we could work. And he was like, "I'm inclined." Like, and then from there, we just like set up a time to hang out and work on some music, and that was really it, you know. He's very he's certainly said and done some crazy things in his life, but I think he's certainly like one of the more talented writers and guitar players out there. So it was really cool.
Ari, is there anyone else?
Oh yeah, I'm trying to think. Wow, I'm totally blanking right now as well. I worked with Seal, which is pretty cool.
Like Kiss from a Rose?
Yeah.
Okay.
I forgot that. Seal's like a very interesting person, and very wise as well. Has his like way about him, and we worked on a song together. Also, Ryan Tedder a little bit from One Republic. Diplo. Yeah, that's a couple. That's a couple. There's a couple other people. I'm kind of blanking right now. But yeah, I think a lot of this has been really cool because a lot of it is just people reaching out and you know, genuinely connecting with what I'm doing, and that's really cool.
Amazing. We go into Q&A or? Yeah? Yeah. Does anybody have any questions? Okay.
So I'm not a musician, but my brother is really into it. So how would you recommend that I support him? Because I think he has the potential. But like I'm from Mexico, so it's really different down there, like the music industry.
So I'm going to repeat the question so that people can hear on the stream. But she asked how you folks would recommend her support her brother because they're from Mexico and it's a really different music industry. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess in general, like, I would have questions, but like I think like if he's really passionate about it and has like the means to create in a way, I would certainly just encourage him to continue with that. And if he has like different content, like kind of like videos, or if he's a guitar player, is he a guitar player or bass and guitar? Okay. I would find like interesting ways to just kind of like, yeah, maybe support him in creating video content or different songs or things that he's kind of interested in, and just kind of encourage him to continue that.
He's still really small. He's like 14.
Oh,
He's
wow.
been playing
Okay.
like since like 80
Oh, wow. Yeah. I would say, yeah. I mean, if he's really passionate about that, he should continue to like nurture that, because I think that's super young, and like there's like certainly something to continue to support that. Yeah.
I guess like if I was 14 and I had like a big sister, oh wait, I did. Oh yeah. Well, I guess like, well, she wasn't like way older than me. She was like a year older, so it doesn't count. But I mean, if I had like an adult sister, I would prefer, or I would love if like she would show up to my shows, but like every single show, instead of like me doing an open mic or doing a show and there's no family support in the audience. And then like every time I, you know, go for a music endeavor, I would want like a support for sure.
Yeah, I feel like that enthusiasm is really powerful, just having people who are interested, asking questions, and kind of like curious to see what you're doing next and what you're working on. I think that is just great.
Yes.
So back to the collaborations. So how do you guys, what's the process to collaborate? If you're not in the same physical space, how do you send edits, feedback? Who gets the final say as to say, this riff is great, or it needs tweaking? What do you
I've never done a collaboration where I'm not like in the room with the person, but they'll reach out to do the collab, and then like I'll like transport myself to wherever they are and then do it there. But
I feel like it's a lot of like sending files, and I feel like everybody gets into their own workflow, and usually what I do at least is I will work on the idea and then I record it to whatever like they have sent me. So he sent me a version with pretty much everyone on it for the most part, and there was just like a couple bars that was empty for my part, and then I just wrote some lyrics and recorded it, and then I just bounce it without any of the background music. So I send him the file of just my like raw vocals so that he can like mix and master it or add effects to kind of make it more cohesive. So it's kind of my experience with it.
Yeah, no, I would say that's like very much how it works, is just you're sending files and like, or going to like the location of where that person is, or if it's someone's particular song, or like there's another person who's mixing it or mastering it, then they can kind of take over where that's necessary. And also to that point about like who's deciding, a lot of times it's like very much like a back and forth, because there's actually one particular part on a song that actually isn't this song, but I'm working with Umi on another song, and it was like my misunderstanding about where a particular part of her vocal was supposed to be, and I didn't hear her original take of it, because she like just cut a vocal to one of my productions, and then I misinterpreted it, and then she was like, oh, but I wanted it like this, and I was like, and I didn't even know. So like a lot of times there's just conversation about how things will go, and you just kind of figure it out,
How do y'all balance like musicianship and production? Like, is your production inspired musicianship?
He asked, how do you balance musicianship and...
And like if anyone like produces, or do you like session for other people when they're producing? Is like, do your beats inspire you to play guitar, or is your guitar playing style your beats that change day by day? Like, what's that relationship between production and being a musician?
What's the relationship between being a musician and production? And a producer, sorry.
I feel like after getting into music production, I started listening to music completely differently, and like isolating different parts of the song, and really just understanding like what's going on behind what I'm listening to. And I used to kind of be jaded and weird about pop music, and like, oh, I don't like mainstream music. But once I realized like what goes into pop and how genius it is, I found this whole new appreciation. And I mean, production, I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand with all different aspects of creating music. And so there's this creative, writing, emotional, story aspect to it, and then there's also the balance of the technical. And I feel like it's really interesting, and it's been really helpful knowing how to produce, because then I can talk to people when I'm in sessions and stuff and say, hey, you should do that there and tweak this and add this effect. And I feel like it's very valuable to be able to kind of have a handle on the technical stuff too.
Someone online wants to know what keeps you guys inspired through the hard times, writer's block, and everything else.
Someone online asked what keeps them inspired during writer's block, hard times, etc.?
Oh yeah. I guess like you gotta. Well, I mean, I had writer's block the other day, so what I did was I just like sat and wrote all day. So it was really hard, but then eventually I got in the swing of things and I actually came up with like a really good song, and I'm really proud of the lyrics and the entendres that I used in the metaphors. So I guess it's like you just have to like force yourself to do it. That's something I always struggled with was lyrics. Yeah.
For me, forcing myself to do it usually doesn't work. I mean, sometimes I will get something out, but I just get frustrated with what it is and what I want it to be. And so I really try to just like switch off mediums. I'll try like drawing or painting something, maybe watching a movie, and kind of just letting yourself breathe, because you don't necessarily really want to like, it doesn't work for me to kind of push it out when it's not ready to be. And I feel like just be easy on yourself, you know? When you start doing music for like your job or whatever full time, there's this whole pressure that gets added to it, and it's really difficult to kind of balance that. But I feel like just, you know, it's gonna be okay eventually, maybe. And if it's not, just be where you are right then and there. Yeah.
Do you want to answer?
I was gonna just say, yeah, I think a lot of times it is just something about finding a middle ground between the two of those things, and like, just like, because it is very much a art form, but I think if you can compartmentalize your creativity and like just like continue to make stuff, you'll find something that you're proud of.
I agree.
I'm curious about your thoughts on, as you're creating music, about genre. Like, if you think of yourself as a musician in a particular genre, if you think, I'm just sitting down and writing a pop song, an R&B song, or you just kind of let it flow, and just sometimes you get stuck as like, oh, this is an R&B song, it's getting poppy, or I'm just curious about your process creatively as you think about genre.
He asked about genre and how they fit in genre, or how they feel they fit in genre.
Yeah, like actually when I'm writing a song, it's not oh, I'm gonna make an R&B song. Like, what makes something a certain genre is like the way you execute it, and the way you execute like the chords and the voicings and the production around it. Like, if you've ever seen the YouTube channel Postmodern Jukebox, they take a song from like they'll take a hip hop song and make it swing, or they'll take a blues song and make it folk, because it's like the song itself, like the top line and the actual song itself can be any genre you want it to be. You just have to like execute it a certain way. So the songs, all of my songs could be like any genre. If I if I turn up the overdrive and like yell the lyrics, then it's a rock song. But if I like play it pretty and like add the little like, you know, then it's like, it's R&B, you know. So
I've always struggled with like answering the question, what genre are you? Because I mean, it's really hard to just kind of like decide on one thing and then like stay with that forever. And I kind of like to drift between different things and use aspects of one genre with like a key feature of another genre, and like the juxtaposition between like kind of colliding different types of music. I think it's really special, but also sometimes it's fun to like creatively challenge yourself and push yourself and say, hey, maybe I'll make like a metal song, or maybe I want to like feeling more hip hoppy today, you know, just kind of like swaying between whatever feels right. But I think that when you try to like really enforce what you want something to be, at least for me, it like doesn't really have that freedom that like lets it turn into what it should be, I think. Yeah.
Josh?
I very much feel as though it's I think in a lot of ways, being creative is you kind of just want to express yourself in a lot of different ways, and if you're moved to a particular quality, I think yeah, Melanie very much stated, it's like you can kind of turn different songs into different aesthetics and things based on the execution of it. But I think also it's interesting because there are certain melodic things that can instate a particular genre as well. You know, if you're doing jazz, it's like there's certain things there, you know, or if you're doing R&B, there's like certain lines that can be blurred there. So I think it's very fascinating nowadays because there's a lot of music that can translate in multiple different ways because all of those different indicators can appear in tandem together.
And I have a question with that. Do you all feel that genres will be a thing in the next few years with so many artists being inspired by so many different genres now and kind of, like you said, infusing them into...
I would say that now, like in a lot of ways, even with like streaming and playlisting and things of that nature, these like playlists that are like jazz vibes or like brain food or whatever, it's like
or
they're
like
all
mood
like
or activity based.
Yeah,
right.
exactly. That kind of represents how it's very fascinating because like it's like we are like collectively determining these playlists like in a way that I don't like. It's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think about that all the time because I've noticed like, mainstream, today's like 2019 mainstream music is like hip hop, but really what it is like the aesthetic is hip hop, but if you actually like listen, it's almost like it's like alternative rock almost. Like if you hear like, you know, Juice WRLD, like people keep calling him a rapper because they visually see a rapper.
Right.
But I'm hearing Sting. I hear a Sting sample, and then I hear somebody singing this like sad emo like rock music, but there's this like trap beat on it. Mm-hmm. So it's like I'm thinking it's kind of like music is like transcending genre almost, because since we have the internet, we're all exposed to like anything and everything. Whereas before the internet, there were no blurred lines. It was just like rock's rock, R&B's R&B, pop's pop, and everything was just like separated. Yeah. But now it's kind of like fluid, you know?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the music industry kind of depends on genre to like define things or describe it or tell other people about that. And more and more I'm finding it is not as necessary as it used to be. And being able to kind of exist between two things is really beautiful. And I'm hoping that maybe it'll just go deeper and deeper into these weird subgenres to where every single musician kind of is their own thing, you know, and they're got their own like sound and that's specific to them and not necessarily like a trope of a type of music, you know.
Yeah. Are there any other questions? Oh, yes.
I have a two-part question. What ultimately called you to pursue music as a profession, and what is the ultimate goal? Like, what's the dream?
The question is, what called them to music, and what is their ultimate goal?
Yeah, like when I got Guitar Hero, like I knew I was gonna be a rock star. Like I just knew, there was no like, oh, maybe I want to. No, it was just like I was gonna be a rock star for sure. So that was how I knew. And then what was the second part of the question?
What's the ultimate goal? Like, what's the dream?
Oh, the ultimate goal. I just want to forever tour and forever release music and be able to do what I love and be able to sustain myself and not have to struggle or starve. Yeah.
Anybody else want to answer?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the, wait, I think I remember. Oh, okay. Got it. So, I was actually raised in a pretty, like, family that was, like, a lot of doctors and lawyers and not really many creatives. And so I was pushed to, like, go to medical school or go be a lawyer and have this, like, safety net of, like, what a life looks like, you know. And I'm told my whole life, you know, you're supposed to do these certain things and then you'll end up here and go to school and then you get your job. And I just kind of didn't like the idea of that. And music has, it's been more of a way of like understanding myself and understanding the world around me more than just something that I like to do. It's like my entire life. And so, I mean, I would be doing this if I was going to medical school or if I was going to college, or no matter where I would end up or what I had to do to like survive and live in this society the way that, you know, we have to depend on certain things, I would still be obsessed with music. And so me, it was more like I get this opportunity to do what I love for a job, and it still blows my mind to this day that I'm able to like sit here with all of you right now, and this is my job. It's crazy. But the ultimate goal is kind of hard to imagine because I don't really think there's this end point that you really get to. You know, I just want to see where life takes me, and I want to travel and explore and create and connect with people, and really that's what it's all about to me. And so, yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. I would say, yeah, I very similarly am just not very functional in regular 9-to-5 situations. I was fired from my first job out of college a year in, and then I like moved to New York and tried a similar job in New York, and then a year later was kind of like pushed out a little bit. And throughout this time, I was just making music, so it was just like I couldn't see myself doing anything else. So yeah, you know, I think the monetary elements of that were always secondary for me, but ultimate goal, I feel like is really to really just enjoy the process and create something that feels like it could like stand the test of time. Yeah.
Make music that'll outlive you.
Yeah, exactly.
You got a question?
Yeah, as a piggyback on her question, and this could be a whole session, but do you guys have any tips on working with sponsors? Which is the money part.
Tips on working with sponsors.
Make sure you like the product. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I would never do it if I didn't like it. I don't know. It makes it weird otherwise.
Yeah, I think I haven't really worked with as many sponsors, but just really kind of discovering how many different options there are, like on how to make money in the music industry is kind of ridiculous, because on the surface of it, you see all these people and these celebrities, and you think that is what the music industry is, or what it's about, or what it can be. And you know, there's so many people behind the scenes who are writing and like doing all this technical stuff that are still able to make money. And I think that's really important, just kind of like realizing how broad the spectrum of like how you can fuel your art can be. But yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess like I was conceptualizing the question as like how to like start working with sponsors.
You're here. You're all here for Fender, so
Oh, okay.
it is a sponsor.
I guess how I started working with the companies that I work with, just, you know, I was just sitting in my bedroom playing guitar, posting videos, and then the videos got noticed, and then the company started reaching out. So it's like, I guess it's like, do what you love and do it well, and then the rest will follow.
Yeah.
So I'd never like tried to work with a company. They just kind of like saw what I was doing and appreciated it, and then that was how I like got on with the companies that I work with.
Any other questions? No? All right. Well, I want to thank Sophie, Melanie, and Josh or Cautious for joining us. Thank you for everybody watching on live and everybody here. This was Future Sounds with Fender. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's it.